Hi, Steven.
How you good? How you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you feeling, first of all?
I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. A little bummed, but hey, man, it's the way the game goes. Sometimes it's when you're in the game long enough, sometimes this stuff happens. So I'm feeling good though.
So, by the way, just to medically get the final wrap up here, did you have to go to the hospital or anything, or once you were in the back, doctors took a look at you and you were good to go?
Yeah. So I actually they took me to the hospital. Got some X-rays done of my left leg and a CT scan. So we were there till 3:30 a.m. in the morning before we got actually back up. We got back to the hotel around 4. So we're there for a little while. So everything's good though. Brain's fine, foot's fine, no breaks, just a little banged up down there. So, but everything's good.
All right, so let me just say this, man. I know obviously Saturday didn't go your way, but to go that many fights in a game this dangerous and for that to never happen, kind of miraculous. Like on some level, I know the streak is over, but you do have to be proud of that streak, right?
I am, man. I'm in close to 80 fights and never been knocked out. Yeah. But it's crazy. It had to be this time. Like, why this time? We had a whole bunch of people there from our hometown celebrating, supporting me. But it is what it is, man. It happens. So the only thing I can do is get back on that ball and keep moving forward and go back to the drawing board.
Let's talk about the fight before the ending. Looked to me like you were winning. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think I was piecing him up. Especially with my jab. He threw a few leg kicks, nothing that really bothered me at the time. I remember the first round very well. I don't remember the second round
Mm.
very well, but I remember going back to the corner and having his blood, like little. I'm like looking down at me. I got his blood all over my chest. I'm looking at his he's like leaking from his nose. So I'm like, man, did I break his nose? What's going on? I just remember saying, he's a tough guy. Um, and then after that, kind of blank. I literally come to in the back. I see Chris Weidman. I see my mom. I see my brother, and I don't remember being out in the cage or walking to the back, taking pictures with everybody. I don't remember that at all.
Wow. What was the game plan heading in there? Again, it looked like you were executing it pretty well for what you remember. But what was the thought? Because there was a bit of a height disparity. I thought he was going to go a lot to the body, which I guess a little bit he did, but he went much more to the legs.
Yeah, I figured I didn't expect him to stand right there in front of me. Right off the bat, I was going to go to him, get him backing up, but he actually met me in the middle, started coming at me, and he did throw a lot of leg kicks. But I remember thinking, his strikes or punches were kind of slow in the first round. Like, man, oh, this is good. This is not going to take long at all.
Mm.
That's what you get for thinking. But yeah, I felt like his hands were fairly slow. He did throw a lot of leg kicks out there, but the game plan was, to really pump the jab, get him backing up a little bit, and then look for the knockout from there. He did keep his hands up fairly high, which made that fairly difficult. So I started going to the body as well with my own body kicks. So to try and get him to drop those hands just a little bit.
Mm.
Um, in the later rounds, I figured that those body shots would definitely wear his body out, him dropping his hands, and then the knockout would be a little bit easier. But we never made it to that point. So, I felt good about my performance, and I went back and watched the fight several times, especially the knockout. And I'm like, it seemed to me like I know I've been hit harder than that. I know Tyrants hit me harder than that. Why did this punch affect me the way it did? And the only thing I could think of was it just being right on the money, right on the spot. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, I actually went and I looked at every yesterday. My wife was real happy with me. I went and I looked at every time you've been knocked down in the UFC. And all the other times you got knocked down, it was a huge punch, like huge, like Tyron Woodley just loading up. Let me see what you think of my guess. My guess is that there was a slight delayed timing on it. And a Superman punch, as you know, often comes real linear. His was almost arcing like in this way. So between the delayed timing and the
Yeah.
trajectory, I don't think you were expecting it. Fair?
Definitely fair. You definitely fair. Because I went back and watched. I threw a side kick that kind of glanced off of him and kind of put me in a bad position
Right.
where my right foot was fairly to the outside of him, which put me closer to him. And I know he was up against the cage. So all he had to do was lunge forward. And of course, when you're throwing a punch with your whole body behind it, it makes it that much more powerful. And the last 3 or 4 inches is where the power comes from. So his whole body being behind it and throwing that straight punch right down the pipe, I think that's what did it. And it took me a while to actually figure it out and go back and watch it. Like, why? It didn't look like it was that much, especially after Tyron putting me down and not putting me away.
Mm.
I'm sitting there thinking, why was that? But it doesn't have to take a gorilla of a punch to put you away. Just you put it right on the spot. That's all it takes.
Something else I noticed, I went back and I checked this with a fight metric for the Anthony Pettis. He targeted your head the least amount he's ever targeted an opponent in his career, and he targeted your legs more than he's ever targeted an opponent in his career. It was the opposite of what he basically always does. To what extent was that surprising?
I figured that he was going to try and keep the distance. I knew that being after me coming off from a knee injury from the fight before, he probably was going to go for the legs a little bit more. So, I mean, in our game plan, in our head, we figured that was going to happen. I didn't think that he was going to not throw as many punches to the head, but I figured he was going to target my legs more. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. He mostly kept his hands up. So maybe that was kind of smart because he knows I'm a counter striker. I've got the longer reach, and that I was going to try and counter him once he started throwing punches. And I think it was smart on his part. He definitely kept his hands closer.
Hmm. By the way, if things had kept going the way they were going, do you feel like you would have gotten the finish in the third? I know it's all at this point, speculation, but nevertheless, how are you
Right.
feeling? It was headed in that direction.
It was heading in a good direction. Yes, yes, I believe so. I believe so. I mean, that was only the second round, and we had 3 more rounds to go. So, the damage that I was doing, that I was causing to him, leads me to believe that I would be able to finish him. But some,
I know, man. I know it's
doesn't
it's kind
happen.
of it's kind of tough to talk about. So let me ask you this thing. I
All right.
yesterday on Twitter, I put up a question to folks. I said, list for me all the times somebody like not just regional MMA, but like high level MMA, where somebody jumped up in weight class and maybe it went well, maybe it didn't, but just list for me all of them. And I noticed something. Again, I could be wrong about this. I just know from what I read, it is not easy. You can make a jump up in weight class and make a big splash. Making a sustained effort at that weight class, maybe not so much. But that one time, and you've seen it now with these champ fights, these guys come up one time and they just tear apart somebody out of nowhere. But then if they stick around the weight class, they run into some brick walls that somebody like you probably wouldn't, staying at welterweight. What do you make of that, if you think that's true?
You know what? I now that you said it, I kind of see it. Cowboy Cerrone made a huge splash. So did Masvidal. I mean, Michael Chiesa, his first fight up to 170, he submitted Carlos Condit. Um, man,
Connor, Amanda Nunes, all these
yeah,
people.
Connor, Amanda Nunes. There's a lot of people who has made that jump, and it may have to do with, I don't know, the weight cut, not having to cut that way, not depleting yourself. Um, I think you may feel more confident in that situation, or that one time that you're moving up and you're not having to deplete yourself. It's just a good feeling. I'm not really sure why that is, but I can kind of see that now that I go back and I think about it. So yeah, man, I don't know. Everybody's been asking me, hey, do you want me to at 85? Uh, Whitaker's still the champ. I would. You never know, man. You never know. I'm not a big welterweight either. So I walk around about 185, 190. And a lot of these guys walk around over 200 pounds. Like Robert Whitaker, when he moved up, I mean, he's doing work, but he did. He walked around at a heavy weight.
So, again, I know it's just Monday, but what are you thinking about for what this does for you in the welterweight division?
I don't know, man. I got to go and look at the rankings, see where I'm at. But now I do know that rankings really don't matter at this point in the UFC's, uh, in the UFC. Yeah, you got a lot of guys who are still being bumped up and fighting champions at ranked number 5. And I don't know, man. I got to go back to the drawing board and see what happens. I know there's a fight in my hometown coming up in 3 months, and We're gonna see how we feel in 2 weeks. I'm not gonna push it at all. After a knockout, especially one like that, I don't want to jump out there too soon. So um, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me though, like look at what Pettis did, right? He kind of had some ups, had some downs, had some ups, had some downs, and got this weird offer to go up a weight class and just took it. It's like, I've told folks, like the best way to get ahead in the rankings, even if you stay inside your own division, is to just take a fight late notice because then they have to slot you in against somebody really good. And then another way to like rebound after a loss is sometimes to take a weird fight. I wonder how you feel about that.
Yeah, man. That is true. So, I mean, the first thing right now, obviously, before we start jumping into that, is to make sure. It's the first time I've ever been knocked out, so I'm taking it super serious.
Yeah, of course.
I'm still. It's like 12 o'clock, and I'm still in the dark in my bedroom. Not on my phone, just kind of chilling here. So, uh, Dana White and those guys, they still want me to fight in 3 months, but I want to take it slow. I want to make sure everything's right before I do that. So,
Yeah.
I got the best doctors looking at me. I got a lot of MMA fighters giving me some really good advice. So I appreciate them, getting in contact with me and let me know what's going on. So everything's going to work out, man. And you have not seen the last of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I guarantee you. This right here has definitely fired me up, man. It has put a flame in me that I think the last time I felt this way was when I tore my ACL like 10 years ago. So I'm itching the bits to get back to the gym and get back to the drawing board.
You have to, this as well as I do. You're the competitor. I'm really the observer, but I have observed, dude, this is a rebound second, third chapter sport if ever there was one. You just need that one right opportunity, boom, and you can hit the ground running. Look at the last 2 weeks. Jorge Masvidal's had a million ups and downs, and then kaboom. Same with Pettis, and then here we are. So you know that as well as I do. There's a ton of opportunity for another chapter.
Oh, definitely, 100%. And looking at Pettis and those guys, they're actually giving me the confidence to keep pushing forward, man, to keep that grind going. And a lot of these fighters, Diego Sanchez hit me up on Instagram, letting me know his story and how his ups and downs, and how you saw his last fight, which was phenomenal. And he said he's been in my situation, man, and just keep moving forward and stay positive. And I'm taking these guys advice.
You still there? We got you? Yeah, there he is. Okay. Thought we lost you there for
Oh, yeah. Did I go off?
No, you trailed out for a second, but it's all good. So let me just ask you this last one. We'll let you go because I really appreciate your time and I don't want to take up any more of it. Looking back on it, I want to ask this as politely as I can. I'll ask it plainly. Do you regret taking the fight?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, Anthony Pettis is one of the best strikers, best fighters in the UFC. And that's why I'm here. I'm not in it for the money. That's all. That's a bonus. I'm in it for the honor and the glory and to face the best fighters in the world. And he got a big name, got a big following, and I've been a fan of his for a long time anyway. And we've been chatting back and forth the past few days, just wishing each other luck in our career. So yeah, man, I don't regret it one bit, not at all.
Well, let me just tell you this while we let you go. I know on these shows like this, the common thing is to bring on all the winners after a Saturday. But, look, man, you're a class act. You're going to be back. And I just felt like it was important for the public to hear from you. Obviously, it requires your compliance. I can't make you do it, but I'm glad that you got a chance to speak. And, man, look, it's a setback, but as I mentioned before, as well as I do, this is the sport of rebounds if ever there was one. So I want to thank you for your time. Get some rest, and I can't wait to see the next version you got for us.
Hey, I appreciate you calling, man, and it's definitely a pleasure being on with you. And don't worry, like I said, you haven't seen the last of me, and I will be back better and stronger than ever, guaranteed, man. I appreciate it, sir.
Can't wait. Get some rest, Stephen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.